I think Jubilee Housing is truly about the stories within it. And I'm talking about the stories of the residents. It's a blessing to be here. And if it had not been for Jubilee Housing, they would probably wonder where would they be. I know personally, if it wasn't for my living within Jubilee Housing, I have no idea where I would be or what I would be doing.
It was an interesting beginning. We had a group of us that were working on Thursday night at the Potter's House. We had an idea to think about how we might do something about the housing that was in the neighborhood that was not in very good shape. So we got at it and didn't know what we were doing.
It was the willingness of some people to go against the grain who knew they didn't know how to do it and were going to do it anyway. And that's in our founding DNA.
Jim Rouse was kind enough to lend us the money to purchase the two buildings, the Mozart and the Ritz.
When you get to know Jim Rouse, you get to know one thing: this is a man of possibilities.
He was so sure that he was going to change the world, and he took me down to Church of the Savior. I met Gordon Cosby, and I figured out where that all came from, because Gordon had the same amazing focus and ability. He was horrified that our wealthy society had left so many people behind.
The idea that there are still people sleeping in cardboard boxes, in doorways, should be for all of us unacceptable.
We had 940 housing code violations to correct in 180 days. And that was the way we got to know the parents and the children. At first, I will say, they were a little nervous. They thought, who are these people and what are they doing? We learned along the way, which was a lovely, lovely opportunity. And they came to respect who we were and what we were doing.
Jubilee was kind of like its own island. You were home and you were looked after by the neighbors. They knew your name, they knew your mom's name.
We had after-school programs, we had summer programs.
The kids that grew up in the Jubilee housing developments, they were just on a different path.
I can't imagine that they were thinking about what things would look like in 2023 or that we would be at 18 properties.
The needs today, if they're not greater, they're just as great as they ever have been. And our call is just as strong.
What I love about Jubilee Housing is in this recent phase, they've taken on the language justice housing.
The word justice is important because it is a matter of justice that people at all income levels in one community with access to all of these services together.
It's not just handing someone a key and saying, here, you have a safe place to live. But it's also saying that now that you're here, we're gonna be partners with you in your individual thriving.
I came to Jubilee Housing from domestic violence. I lost my eyesight. I am legally blind. I used to live enslaved. I used to live in darkness. So many doors were closed at me, but Jubilee told me, you can do it. You can do it. And I am so happy. You can get places with Jubilee Housing. You can get resources.
The people that work within Jubilee Housing, I felt they're willing to go over and above in order to aid you. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
There's deep community that's present and available. And people just aren't left on their own.
It is a community that welcomes everyone, that gives everybody access.
When a person has access to opportunity and resources, a person can thrive, a person can become who they are, can access the education they're excited about.
I see my kids in the third year of college. I have never thought I was going to be able to do that if I was not at Jubilee Housing.
Having your own key to go into your own home is a blessing. It's truly a blessing.
I do think it's tied to that Jubilee vision, this promise that there can be a reset. I think second chances are so important. I think places where we're accepted, where we can belong just as we are, we can be sort of loved into our best selves.
Do we fail sometimes? Sure. Is it hard? Often. Do we lose our way? Yeah, that's happened. But that's what keeps us going.
Jubilee is grounded in and guided by a faith and a commitment that says we must.
They're fearless. They take on things that are very difficult. And as a result, they have become a real leader and a real example for others to follow.
As we're in the midst of doubling the size of our community, That is requiring us to grow and change, and I think it might feel a little bit like it did to our founders when they were getting started and weren't exactly sure how to take that next step, but just knew they had to. We have a saying in our community that God doesn't call the gifted, God gifts the called. So when you say yes, you can expect that the gifts will be given.
To me, what you all have done for us is too much. Have set me free and had set me to give my kids a better life. Thank you and God bless you.